last spring. She was telling me that when you two were together in Lawrence, that you just really sank into depression prior to the summer of going to Ithaca.
That's true.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Did that depression have any content, or was it just a
No, I just
sort
didn't.
of a chemical thing?
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I knew I had a PhD. I knew I had been teaching for 10 years in colleges and universities. I knew I'd been teaching students how to communicate, how to persuade. I knew I'd been in theater. I knew I'd produced a lot of shows. I knew I was a good teacher. I had a lot of good, wonderful self-esteem. The world was changing. This was 1970 or 1968, 69. But I had been a closet lesbian the entire time, hiding what my real identity was. And that year in Lawrence, Kansas with Dorothy was indeed a breakthrough year. Not only personally in my relationship with her and with other people and being open about my lesbianism, that whole thing, and all of the feminism that went behind that, because every day there was a new revelation that you felt like, oh my God, that's true. I hadn't realized that. Not only that, but my whole intellectual world was my whole intellectual world was called into question, because I was taking graduate courses in the philosophy department and trying somehow to put together some kind of understanding, something that made sense to me in my binary fashion. And yes, I was depressed. I really was. I think now, if I'm looking back on it, I didn't know whether I belonged in academia, whether I should leave it or not, whether I should leave Texas or not, whether I should go to California, because lots of stuff seemed to be happening in California. I had no idea what I was going to do with my life, but it was at a turning point. And it's not accidental that Stonewall was happening at the same time. It is not accidental that feminism was, suddenly was emerging and was being powered by what I think was lesbian feminists, and that energy was becoming a real force, a political force. That gets into the whole business of how important political activism is. I began to think about how, as an academic, you can be an activist. And in fact, I wrote an article, I think, called "The Scholar is Activist," and how important it is for us to be aware of what changes are going on in a society. The university of all places should be responsible for looking to what's happening in the world and to making steps toward change for the better for all of us. If no other place, besides the church perhaps, the academe should be the place where we're exploring all of that and thinking what changes should be coming about. Academia was my home. It should have been my home. I loved it. It loved me. I mean, I should never have been anything but an academic. So it made perfect sense ultimately. But that particular year, which I think was 69, 70, I'm not sure. I can't remember. Maybe it was just, the Cambodian question came up in the spring of that. It was 69, 70. It was 69, 70 because my brother wrote to me and said, I ain't going to Cambodia, I am going to Canada, And I thought, that's good. I mean, so that year was indeed one where I was questioning all of my professional stuff and all of my intellectual stuff and all my creative stuff. And it didn't seem like I had much to offer to the world because I was in a place because I wasn't believing my vision, and the Wonderground hadn't come out yet, quite. It hadn't emerged. The tarot hadn't emerged yet. None of the vision had really emerged. I just knew there was something different from what I had been taught to believe and the way I had been taught to think, and that I was somehow going to have to change my life in order to fit that new mold. And I had no idea what it was, and I didn't think I was capable of it. And if I was depressed, it was because of that.